Okay, this time, hopefully we're on air.
Yeah.
Hello, sorry for the problems with the stream, we think we've got it sorted now. If you missed the other two starts, hi, I'm Lee from Codemasters.
Hi, I'm Paul from Codemasters as well.
This is everybody else. Third time's
a charm.
Mr. Robson's driving for us today. He started again, so because he got about halfway up the hill before before we realised the stream had gone off. Yes, everybody in the chat box is saying we're back on, so
cool.
Good times.
Okay.
Right. Third time, Paul.
Okay.
Tell us a little bit about Pikes Peak and why it's gone into Dirt Rally.
Right, so Pikes Peak, it's something that people have been asking for ever since we put it into Dirt back in 2007, I think it was. And it's something that we've always wanted to do, but just haven't really had the bandwidth to do it up until now. When we were putting together a list of our sort of wish list of what we wanted from the content for Dirt Rally, Pikes Peak was really high up on the list. It's one of the most iconic hill climb courses, and we feel that hill climb and certainly Pikes Peak fits within the remit for Dirt Rally, despite obviously Dirt Rally being primarily focused on the rally content. So what we haven't done is just lift the wireframe that we had from Pikes Peak and Dirt 1 and just transfer it into this. We've revisited the location, re-researched everything, taken new measurements of the track width in all the areas, used the new height data that's available due to the advances in GPS satellite technology, and now we've completely rebuilt Pikes Peak from the ground up. So we've got the track as it was when we did the research trip back in 2012, 2013. It's been so long now, probably 2013 actually. So the full tarmac version, and we've also used the material that we had from the reference trip that we did back in 2006 to do the mixed version that you guys will be familiar with.
So all that stuff from the first time we researched it, we've still got them?
Yeah, I mean, so we haven't been using it for the detailed texture work specifically, but in terms of knowing where the track changed to the mixed surface and stuff, and bringing some of the barrier placements back into line with where they were back in those days. We've done that, so there are some areas in the mixed surface version where we haven't put arm code down, where there is in the modern version. So generally, the further back in time you go, the more precarious the track feels.
So it's even scarier on the older version?
Yeah, it's well, if you're going to run wide on a hairpin, there's probably just going to be a bit of orange mesh rather than a full bit of arm code to stop you going off the edge. So yeah.
So you talked a little bit just briefly about the sort of research trip. What kind of things do we do on those research trips? Do we go out there with a tape measure, or is it like a big satellite scanning machine, or how do we do it?
So I mean, it's a combination of things. Certainly, before we even head out on these trips, we try and get as much information about the environment that we're going into, so that we better understand the area that we're referencing, and it helps us better prepare the trip out there. So knowing where to book a hotel, knowing what hire car you're going to need, and how long it's going to take between locations. But once we've got all that information together, it's really important to get a team of level designers and artists out to the location so that they can really immerse themselves in the atmosphere of the area. And in the past we used to do that whenever we could send the team out there, and that didn't always coincide directly with when the event was on. But certainly for this research trip to Pikes Peak, it was done pretty much day and date when the event was going on. So we had all the set dressing and everything in place. We were able to actually talk to drivers before they were doing their runs, finding out what it was that made the event so special. And that extra level of detail that we got from that research trip certainly shows, I think, in the way that the track's been put together, and the understanding that our level design and environment artists have for the environment they're recreating. In terms of the actual techniques that are used, it's tape measures to get road widths. It's a lot of photography, like tens of thousands of pictures taken at every location, and that's from scene setting stuff like looking around in the environment, right down to like taking pictures of individual stones on the ground. But it's really it's up to those guys to work out what they need from the experience. So the level designers, they're really focusing on the area where you drive, so the road surface, the edges of the road, that's their bag. and then the environment artists are looking much more at the landscape, the rock faces at the side of the track. If there's a building at the side of the track, they'll go off and photograph that in much greater detail. So everyone's got their role, but together they sort of work together to get the atmosphere packaged up into the experience.
I forgot to say, you guys can all go if you want, or you can stick around and watch. It's up to you. You don't have to stand around. I forgot to dismiss you all. Just people peering through the glass. So, this version that we're on now, I'm trying to work out where we are. Are we playing the mixed variant one, or is this the full tarmac?
Yeah, so we're in the mixed variant one here, and we're in the Peugeot 405 Pikes Peak, made famous in the video Climb Dance, driven by Ari Vatanen and Al Unser. So you see here, we're just on the transition from the tarmac.
Timed that perfectly.
Yeah, it was pretty spectacular actually. But yeah, onto the loose stuff. So this car, our simulation team, they've set it up so that it can handle both surfaces, which actually historically this car didn't have to do. It was purely on the loose stuff. So this car's a bit more of a balanced setup. When you do the full tarmac run, obviously we've lowered the suspension, we've got grippier tyres on there, and it's set up pretty much as a grip driving car. Whereas on the mixed surface, the car is much more capable of performing those nice sustained drifts on the gravel.
So on the cars, what are the differences? What are the differences between a Pikes Peak car and, say, a WRC car for those that probably aren't that familiar with Pikes Peak?
I think it's probably easier actually to compare Group B and Pikes Peak, because the cars that we've got in this pack are kind of ultimate versions of Group B cars. When Group B got banned, these teams started taking their cars to Pikes Peak because it was a place where they could still run these cars without the rule changes affecting them. The ultimate class in Pikes Peak just allows you to pretty much bring whatever you can bring. So seeing these Group B monsters starting to arrive, I think it was in 1985 when the Quattros and the 205s, and I think there was a Delta S4 that ran up there as well, but they were pretty much in the guise that they were competing on the rally scene. But then over time it became apparent that actually they could get more out of these cars by adding downforce. So you see the 205 that we've got in the game, that's essentially a Group B 205 but with a massive wing on the back and some extra air on the front. But then Peugeot took that to the next level with the 405, where they actually made it a slightly longer wheelbase, added a lot of wing. I mean, the 405 has a huge wing setup on it, and that led us from a simulation perspective to actually start looking at how we're modelling the aerodynamics within the game, and it's given us a lot to think about, certainly in terms of the whole spectrum of cars in the game. But I mean, if I'm being brutally honest, our aero systems from the past were a little bit basic, and doing the investigations that we needed to do into Pikes Peak has shown us a lot of the stuff that we can improve on going forward. So, you know, over the coming months, the aim is to layer back into the cars that are already in the launch pack this aerodynamics systems that we've got in place that we've learned from Pikes Peak, and I think it's going to benefit the high-speed handling of all the cars in the game, as well as making them crash more realistically, because the way that we model the airflow over the car doesn't just stop when you go into a crash situation, it affects the car when you're in mid-air doing a barrel roll.
Sometimes when you're stacking it in the minute, the car just literally flies through the air a bit unrealistically, so that'll change that quite a bit.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if you see a Formula 1 car like Mark Webber crashing in Valencia, for example, where you see him drive up the back of another car, but as soon as the wind gets underneath the car, it acts on the car very differently compared to how it's supposed to act on the car when all four wheels are on the ground. And you know, that's true to any body that's flying through the air. It acts very differently compared to how it is in its preferred for all four wheels touching the ground format. So that's something that this aero work has really helped us improve, that modelling of how the car behaves, not just when it's supposed to be driving well, but also when you're in a crash situation.
Cool. Here, look at that. Timed that perfectly as well. Nice. Well done. You've been complimented on your driving.
Oh, thank you.
Are you playing manual?
Yeah.
Manual. You're using clutch? You're not full hardcore then?
No. Not on my screen, no.
You could just put it into replay. That'd be cool. Cheers, dude. Cool. I think I think now might be a good time for some questions.
Yeah.
If we've got some. One thing that I will show, so we posted up earlier on Twitter asking people to send us their questions. This is the Dirt Rally, probably can't hear me, this is the Dirt Rally t-shirt that you will all win. We've also got some other swag to give away.
Just to clarify, you're not all going to win it.
Yeah.
Some of you will win it.
We've also got some Logitech gear. We've got some Logitech mice to give away later in the stream. Logitech G35 headset. In about 10 minutes, we will also be giving away a Logitech G27. Not this one because it's an empty box. We've also got our much coveted orange notebooks as well that a lot of you guys have seen and have tried to be after. So, questions. Where should we start?
The first page, probably.
First page. Okay, so. Okay, okay. The first question on the first page. I won't ask that one. So I can't say this guy's name. Mikao Namori says, list your favourite rally cars that are possibly going to be in the game.
Okay. Possibly going to be in the game. That's a very open question. I think certainly one of my favourite cars that we haven't had in a game for a while, certainly since McRae 2005, is the Lancia 037, and I'm very pleased to say that that'll be coming in the next pack. So it's a car that I certainly had on the bedroom wall when I was growing up, because my dad had a Lancia Delta, and so every time we'd go to the dealership, the car salesman would be like cramming all the old brochures in my hand, and the 037 was quite an iconic Lancia from the mid-80s. So yeah, really happy to get that in the game. It feels brutal, really special on tarmac, quite a handful on gravel, but really excited to get that in.
Cool. I wasn't planning on answering these, but my favourite car that's going to go in is also, I think it's also in the next pack. I quite like the 306. I don't know why, but I quite like the 306 rally car. I think it sounds daft. My mum had a 306 at the time when it was kind of like famous in rally. So for me, it was like we had a rally car when really we didn't. It was just like a 306.
I love the fact that the 306 was in the Sega Rally 2 arcade cabs. I think that was quite a cool thing to see it in. I think most people either had or knew someone that had a 306 as well. I mean, they were built just down the road in Coventry as well, some of them. So, the kit cars, in fact, are a really exciting class to get in there. We've got some low-powered front-wheel drive cars in at the moment with the 60s class, but getting, proper, powerful, lightweight, kit car spec front-wheel drive cars, I think would be a new challenge for our players, and I think they fit really well with the tarmac driving of Germany.
Cool. So next question is from Jordan. He's asked, what is the most enjoyable part of playing Dirt Rally? Maybe for you. Maybe don't treat that as a salesman's pitch. But for you, what's the coolest thing about playing the game?
The weirdest thing is listening to myself as the co-driver. But the coolest thing, I think, is just getting that sense of an event panning out over 12 stages and seeing your competitors falling at the wayside when they get damage problems, knowing that you're always in with a chance of making up time on your opponents. We put a lot of work into modelling how rally events happen, and although the numbers are generated virtually, it's all done in a way that's very true to the way that rally sport events pan out, and you can get into some quite good battles with the AI. You start to recognise the names, and it's something that we've actually taken some steps to improve for this pack. Although this is a Pikes Peak pack, we have made some improvements to the rally content as well. And now we've got some AI drivers that will actually form rivalries with you, so they'll start looking at the way that you're performing and start trying to match that. So it gives you a bit more of a sort of head-to-head opponent that will start getting promoted and relegated alongside you.
Okay, next question is from Blue, who asks, how long does it take to develop a car for Dirt Rally?
So yeah, it's a bit of a two-stage process really. Once we've spoken to the manufacturers and got agreement with them, we'll actually go out and research the car. So that can often be quite a long process. Actually finding a car that's in existence, and finding an owner of the car that's willing to let us get it out the shed and photograph it. And we'll go over them in minute detail, taking, again, thousands of photographs to get every little bit of detail for the car. So once that research pack is put together, we then get it sort of put together into a art pack by our car artists here in the studio, and then send that to our offshore studio in Kuala Lumpur. Those guys will put the car together and package it into a full 3D model, and then it comes back into the studio for polish. And it's when it's going through that polish phase that our simulation team take over the car, and that's when they start layering in the car handling onto it. And that's a camera pass, that's a damage pass, and all of the handling characteristics layered in as well. So all in all, I think it's about, I think if you stretched all the work out into a long line, it would be about 100 days to get a car from early photography through to completion. But obviously we've got production methodologies in place, which means that we can be working on the car with multiple people at the same time, so we can squeeze that down a bit.
Cool. I think before we take any more questions, it might be worth starting off another run. I think what we could do, if you go through to the car select screen, we'll do a run on the full tarmac version.
Yep.
And we'll let people in the chat box decide what car we're going to run.
Might be a little bit harsh on mine.
We'll see what they say. So, which cars have we got that we've added into this pack?
So for the Pikes Peak pack, it's the Peugeot 205 Pikes Peak. We've got the 405 Pikes Peak, and we've got the Audi Quattro. So that's the Audi Sport Quattro S1 Pikes Peak.
Cool. So guys in the chat box, sound off. Tell us what car it is you want to see us run. Just coming in now. Two for the Audi. Another for the Audi. Got to be it looks like safe bet. It's going to be the Audi.
You will not believe the relief on Mike's face. So the 205 is an absolute handful. If you're brave, then that's the one you want to go out the blocks with. But yeah, unanimous for the Quattro there.
Pretty much. So with the career mode, I suppose we'll come back to some of the questions in a bit. Mm-hmm. With the career mode for hill climb, how does that slot into what players have already got in the game? Have they got to start again to be able to access it? Or? So
it's essentially a career that sits simultaneous with the rally side of things. So if you've been working through the rally career, you'll have seen that you get promoted from open all the way through to masters. And we've got a similar makeup for hill climb, and you can do them separately. So you can start your hill climb career as soon as you've got the download, and you'll be heading out from open class opponents all the way up to masters. As you go through the events, you'll be doing the shorter sort of sector routes of Pikes, and then the further you go down the line, you'll be opening up the full routes. So the key difference with the hill climb event is that you get two runs at the same route. We've still got repairs in there, so you do want to try and keep on top of your car condition to make sure that your second run isn't going to be compromised by wear and tear and damage.
So it's a repair in between?
Yeah, and we've given you an hour of repair rather than the 30 minutes that you get in the service area for rally, so you do get a bit more time to repair the car, but obviously they're a bit more advanced in terms of technology, and the speeds are greater, so the damage is a little bit more in hill climb in terms of how much you're going to be expected to fix up. But yeah, you get two runs at each individual stage within the event, and then your best time is taken. So we've tried to emulate hill climb competition. We're not just turning this into it's another way of doing rally. This should feel like a different way of competing, and we're quite pleased with how it's come out.
I'm trying to work out if Mr. Robson can hear me. Can you hear me, Mr. Robson? He's got his headphones on. No. So there's people asking in the chat box to see the interior camera, but it's okay. See if that... So made you crash. Could you swap to the interior cam so we can see the cockpit? Cool. Cheers, dude.
Nice.
Yeah, sorry, just for you guys on the Twitch stream. I've totally forgot what we were talking about now. That's my fault.
Well, I mean, we're talking about Pikes Peak most of all. So now that we've gone into the interior, actually, one thing that's worth noting in here is the boost gauge and how rapidly that's moving. So
is that the thing in the centre of the dash?
Yeah, kind of where your speedometer would be in a Mini. So I think one of the coolest things that the guys modelled, and this was actually prior to Pikes Peak, but it's less easy to notice when you're moving from location to location in rally, is the fact that the brake horsepower in dirt rally now does change based on the altitude. So with Pikes Peak, the climb is so great that you really start to notice the drop in brake horsepower as you climb the mountain. And so where you'd only really notice the difference when you were moving from Wales to Monte Carlo or to Greece, and so the altitude would change between location. Now you're actually getting that sort of change.
So you're starting off
across the route, yeah. So in the past, our cars would be like 800 horsepower on the start line and 800 horsepower on the finish line. Now they're 800 on the start line, and that's dropping to somewhere.
Lost the voice. Still showing us bouncing. Have we still... microphone died?
Play back now.
Ah, it's back.
We're back in play.
We're back. Okay. Sorry guys, microphone's back on. We'll get the hang of this live streaming.
Cool.
Your cars. Yeah, okay, cool.
Okay. So the bit about altitude affecting your brake horsepower, just to round that up, essentially the higher you climb Pikes Peak, the less power you'll have in the engine. It also affects the aerodynamics, so the thinner air is giving you less downforce, and those are the two key elements of Pikes Peak.
Oh wow, okay, no one was going that far. So, if anything, to make it more realistic, then basically they need to put themselves in like one of the high altitude training tents that joggers use.
Yeah, or cheat like Sebastian Loeb and have an oxygen tank giving you oxygen as you drive it.
Right, okay, let's have some more questions. Have we got any about Pikes Peak?
We can answer any of these, really.
We can, can't we, I suppose. Right, okay, so Jose Involved wants to know what the chances are us adding in a rally school like in Colin McRae Rally 1.
I mean, I never say never with all of this stuff. I don't want to promise anything. What I'd really like people to do is start doing videos that are showing rally techniques to the community, and for us to be able to sort of cherry pick the best ones of those and promote them through our social channels, because there's plenty you can teach people about the techniques required for rally driving just using the stages that are already in the game. But yeah, I think it would be great to have an area in which players can throw the car around and gain confidence in the car without having the trees and the ditches at the side of the road just there ready to catch them out straight away. So it's something that we're investigating, but obviously environments are an expensive part of the process. So if we do it, we'd want to do it as well as we possibly can. I'm not too keen on the idea of just having a couple of cones in a car park and saying there's your rally school. I think it needs to be a bit more than that.
Yeah, but I mean, if any of you guys watching the stream, if you do make your own videos and stuff like that, tweet them over to us at Dirt Game. We have actually got a whole section on the website that's kind of dedicated to tutorial videos. The plan was that we'd be putting up some of our own in there, sort of as we go. We wanted to see. I don't know. I think traditionally in the past, people haven't maybe liked our tutorials.
Yeah, and I'd be reluctant to just throw out the usual like this is how you do this. Oh, you couldn't do it. Oh, that's tough. Yeah. Have another go. I'd rather we actually did something a bit more dynamic that was reacting to the way that you were performing within the tutorials, and we were giving you advice based on that. But obviously those systems are quite challenging to get underway.
Question that's coming in on the chat box. A couple of people have asked, but I'll credit it to Orst_S_B. Can we use rallycross cars on Pikes Peak in custom career event or leagues?
So right now you can't, but I think once we've got the handling dialed in for Germany, and that's basically a tarmac, sort of dry tarmac tyre with stiffer suspension, and we've got those cars dialed in, then I don't see why not. It's just that we wanted Pikes Peak to focus on those cool Pikes Peak cars to begin with, and to get as much feedback from those cars first before muddying the water with rally cars on there. But yeah, I'm certainly not averse to the idea.
Mr. Robson doing? He's not doing as well on the full tarmac version.
About, because obviously we had that car before launch, and then that car.
We should probably tell the story behind that car, because it's probably a bit of an in-joke between us and the guys that sort of stuck around in between Dirt Rally. So I don't know if I've got a different version of it to you, but basically it was when we were in development, the guys on the handling team set up the Quattro, and it was an absolute monster. It was like what it is in the game to drive, and we kind of wanted to talk about it, and we just kept referring to it as that car when we were sort of teasing people online, and then that kind of stuck, and then it started ending up on post-it notes on people's tasks. We weren't calling it the actual proper name, it was just being referred to as that car. So that's where the name that car comes from, if any of you are wondering. I didn't see this car. I'll admit.
No, well, I mean,
what have you done?
It's not gone well. So
the sparks are looking good, at least.
Yeah, good work from our VFX team there. I think they've paid Mike a bribe so that they could show it off.
Do you know? I was doing the daily the other day. I think it was in the week. It was the BMW on Wales, and I popped both of my rear tyres, and I had to do the last 3 sexters on just the rims, and it was painful.
Like that scene in the Bond movie.
There's a helicopter. We've got a helicopter.
Oh yeah, helicopters. People have been asking for helicopters, and so we didn't have them in originally because we'd seen drones getting used a lot more in rally, and we figured it would be quite a cool thing to get more drones in rather than the odd helicopter here and there. But obviously for Pikes, it was kind of like the right sort of environment for a helicopter. So if you're driving the stage at a reasonable pace and not crashing and popping your tyres, then you'll see the helicopter and at some key points, so try not to get put off by it.
I just realised I got weirdly excited by the helicopter being in the game then. Oh, Robson, you're so close.
He wasn't close.
Oh, look, you're going to get disqualified now. Hurry up. Right, okay. So, next question from DoCal. What, if any, improvements to the league system do you intend to make? Any discussion on that would be great. Thanks.
Yeah, so we've got a whole list of improvements. I mean, the way that we're putting this game together, and the fact that we're able to listen to community feedback at every step of the way, means that we've got big, long lists of things that we want to do with the game that previously would have been how we made the game within the studio. But now that we've got feedback from the community, we're able to incorporate their requests and wants into those lists. So we've got, a big key list for the whole game with all of this stuff. But Leagues has its own separate list because the development for it is slightly different, because a lot of it's website. So we do have a big long list of people's asks and wants. Some of that stuff has come from the conversations we had with the lead guys that we brought in.
The guys
before we
from
released.
the guys from Torah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of that stuff that they wanted we couldn't get in straight away, so we've got that stuff underway, but definitely supporting any new content we're putting in, so you'll be able to set up your Pikes Peak leagues as of now. As with all of these things, just any improvements or refinements that you guys want, just ask for them, we'll put them in. But I don't want to talk about specifics just yet, because we're still trying to sort of work out what fits and when we're going to be able to do it. So I don't want to make any promises right now, but there's definitely a lot of stuff in the pipeline that we can do.
I think the most important thing for us as well is, I don't know, I think this month anyway, to me it's kind of felt like we've still been in the honeymoon period where everybody's just loads of ideas at us. But what we really need to do now is to work out what the most important stuff is. So, I mean, if any of you have got any ideas, things that you'd like adding to the game, if you visit forums.codemasters.com, in the DiRT section there's like a suggestion box that we've set up. You can put your ideas in there, you can see ideas that other members of the community have posted up, you can vote on them, you can have your say, you can ask questions. We've also got a kind of version of that up on the Steam forums. If you don't want to sign up to either of those, that's totally cool. You can by any means just tweet them over to us, just spam them onto our Facebook, whatever it is that suits you.
That's actually quite a good one to lead into the next question, which Josh Walrath, sorry Josh, you asked what the timeline for improved force feedback code to be inserted would be. Well, that was one of the bits of insta feedback we got as soon as we put the game out. The guys that are used to playing games on their PC had a lot of feedback about the way that we've set up our force feedback in the game, and we held our hands up straight away and said this is because of the way that we'd set up our wheels in the past, and it was one of the areas that we hadn't given the full kind of rework to in the same way that we had done with our physics engine. So it's something that our simulation team are working on right now. In terms of a timeline, I'm not going to put a date on it, but it's going to be pretty soon, and we're excited to get it out there. We've had it in the hands of Kevin Abring, who's WRC driver with Hyundai. He came in and gave us some insight into the weighting of the wheel, so how it feels when you're just static on the line, and when you're also driving, and when it goes light over crests and all of that kind of stuff. So I think we're pretty close. But I think the key thing with it is giving you guys as much adjustability in the system as possible, because we know that every wheel is not the same. So what works for one wheel might not work for another, and that adjustability is what we're working on now, making sure that we can really get on and allow you guys to refine the setup as much as possible. But I think we've got some pretty good stuff in the pipeline. We have had to completely rewrite the system. But in doing so, we've learnt a lot about the techniques required, and I don't know. I don't want to go out there and say straight away that we've got something amazing, but it should feel industry leading when it goes out there.
Sticky98 come back with a question, but I think everybody's kind of answered it for him in the chat box. Bless him. Could we incorporate fog into rally events?
So, I mean,
it's kind of already there.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So I think it's technically titled Mist in Monte Carlo, but there is some there. You've also got some fog hanging in the trees in Wales. It's one of those tricky ones where certain PCs and certain graphics settings won't like it very much. So actually you could be putting people with the high-end PCs at a bit of a disadvantage, because they're having to drive with full fog, and the guys that can't actually run those settings because their graphics cards aren't powerful enough will actually just be able to drive the stages if there's no fog there at all. So we tried to get it set up in such a way where it did affect visibility, but not in such a way that it would penalise various players. So yeah, there is some fog in there, but it's probably not as dense as you might be expecting it.
We better get Mr. Robson off this replay before he has to relive his accident. I think we should mix it up a little bit and show something different. Do you fancy running the daily?
Can do that.
Can do.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, go for the daily, and then we might put you in the car you didn't want to drive. A bit later on. Okay, cool. So, next question is from Angel. When will we get more locations, and what will be next? Waiting for a T-shirt from Spain. You can have a T-shirt for that one, Angel.
Okay, so the next location will be Germany, and that's Panzerplatte.
Is that you maxing out the daily from yesterday? Sorry.
That might have been from... that'll have been from Friday, I think.
Wow, okay.
So, get me.
Sorry, I was just impressed at the bar going there.
Germany's next up. So that's Tarmac Stages, Baumholder Military Training Base, aka Panzerplatte. It's amazing. It feels completely different. Like we've already got the stages pretty close to getting finished now. Certainly from a playability point of view, there needs to be an art polish done on them, and that's what's being worked on at the moment. But from the tight, twisty stuff in Monte Carlo and that sort of icy condition, you take it to Germany where the stages are a little bit wider, but it's more about fast sprints and then junctions like tight hairpins, square left, square rights, chicanes through bales, all of that kind of stuff. I think it just offers another challenge to players, and it's a very different way of driving these cars. And yeah, I'm really glad we got it in, because it not only does it feel different in terms of the openness of the environment, but you've also got that sort of challenge of how fast you dare go, and your braking points are so important in Germany. You can lose so much time braking early for a corner or overshooting a junction. So yeah, it's a really cool location. I'm really looking forward to seeing that in the game.
Just noticed we've put Mr. Robson into a brutal daily event.
That's right. Do we want to use this to give away the G27 or
the G27? What time is it? Yes, right. If you're interested in winning Logitech G27, one of these, however, but in a proper box. If you head over to our Twitter page, which is twitter.com/dirtgame, you'll find everything you need to enter there. Basically, just find the tweet, just hit retweet with it and share it on your friends, and we'll be picking a winner on the 1st, which is next Monday.
Yeah.
What we will do for today's daily, so whichever time Mr. Robson sets, if you happen to set a faster time than Mr. Robson, just screenshot your results at the end. Just press F12 on Steam. He's already making it easy
so everyone's
for you.
Everyone's going to beat him.
So if you set a faster time, tweet us over a screenshot of your time, and what we'll do is we'll put all of those names into a hat, and we'll pick the winner out. The winners will get a set of these Logitech G35 headphones. We'll send you a T-shirt. We'll send you a notebook. Also got one of our super posh posters with that car on, and any other Co-Masters swag that I can find lying around. We'll get that signed.
Pin badges.
Yeah. We can get that signed actually.
Cool.
Yes, we'll sign the poster as well. So yeah, all you got to do is basically just do today's daily event, which means you've got until 11 o'clock tomorrow morning.
UK time.
UK time. I keep forgetting that. Take a picture of the end result, and like I said, just tweet it over to us at DirtGame, and we'll be picking the winners. Use the hashtag #DirtDaily for your chance to go into the pot. I suppose getting away from Pikes Peak a little bit, what kind of things have you been most, I don't know, maybe impressed by over the last couple of weeks that people have been doing with the game since it's out there? Are people doing things you didn't expect with it? Or
they're driving a lot faster than I thought they were going to.
So on that, we've kind of had to tweak the AI a little bit, haven't we?
Yeah, so we're certainly looking at the way the times that our AI are setting. I think we're quite happy with people's response to it. I think that we were worried that it may have been perceived as impossibly hard, but people seem to have bought into the idea that the game is it's not always about winning, and that's quite hard to do when you're setting about making a game. You know, often the perception is that people just want to win the next race and go on to the next one, but with Rally it's more about surviving to the finish line and getting to the finish. So I'm glad that people have embraced that. But yeah, it's one of those ongoing things where we want to be able to adjust the times and make sure that the experience is right. We don't want to make it either too easy or too hard. But over time, when we start adjusting some of the car handling parameters, we're going to need to be adjusting this stuff again. So it's a bit of an ongoing process, and that's the beauty of early access. We can always be refining this stuff as we go down the line. So yeah, it's certainly been exciting seeing people play the game. You know, I think that was probably the coolest thing, actually going home on the Monday after launch and just watching people on Twitch playing the game. I've never had that with a game I've worked on before. It's always been waiting for YouTube videos to go up, but actually watching people playing from their own homes and commenting on the game as they were playing it was really exciting. And yeah, it's been a real eye-opener. I've been blown away by the response. I think people being happy with the direction we've gone in, but not just that, really appreciating the depth and the level of detail that we've gone into has been fantastic.
Okay, let's hop on to another question from Twitter. So, Vitor Costa A, sorry if that's not how you say your name. What do you think about the possibility of adding Steam Workshop in the future?
So yeah, it's something we've talked about a lot within the studio. It's great if we can get stuff hooked up. It means that players will be able to take the game and run with it. So it kind of opens up that content creation to the community, and I think it's a really strong thing to put into any game. So yeah, I think we want to find out from you guys what sort of stuff you'd like to be able to customize. And I know that you mentioned like the ability to make new cars, but I think there's so much more to this game than just content. So yeah, it'd be really interesting to hear what sort of stuff people want to be able to make using Steam Workshop.
Okay, I think we kind of touched on this one a little bit earlier. This was from Talk Nerdy to Me. Congratulations on the handle.
Yeah.
How many cars and locations / tracks are the goal for the final product?
So, I mean, the goal is to get as many as possible in there, and you know, obviously we need to be looking at how people are sort of enjoying stuff, whether we do more of what we've done or whether we branch out into new areas, but certainly a lot more than what we've got in there at the moment. If you look at the timeline on the website, you can get a rough idea of where we're looking to drop content, and there's some fairly obvious clues as to the types of locations we're going to within that.
I've been deliberately obvious with all of them.
But yeah, I mean, in terms of cars, think about some of the coolest, most iconic rally cars in history, and that's kind of the inspiration for the car list that we've put together. But obviously there's plenty of new stuff on the way, as well as plenty of old stuff in the history books that we could be tapping into. So I don't want to go into specifics because obviously we're still in negotiation with a lot of the manufacturers, but suffice to say, if it's a cool rally car, we've got our eye on it. I think that's probably the best way of describing it.
Cool. Mr. Robson, how brave are you feeling? Should we try a third and final car? You need to make a note of your time, actually. What did you get? 3:42, 6:41. So that's the time to beat. Boot up the daily. You've got until there's actually a countdown timer on there telling you how long you've got left to take part. But yeah, tweet us a screenshot of your time at the end of the run, and you could win Logitech G35s. We've got a mouse, all kinds of dirt swag. Which is a pretty good prize. I'd be happy with that. So we'll go on to our third and final run now in the danger car. This is...
You should do danger conditions as well.
Danger car in danger conditions. So yeah, it's not just... Actually, I suppose you just sort of pointed out something there. One of the things that we've got with, obviously, Pikes Peak is, I suppose, traditionally, people always just expect it to be sunny there. But what we've actually done is been able to add in the different...
Yeah, I mean, it does rain there. I think it's just the time of year when the event normally happens. It is often dry, but yeah, it's good to have that added challenge of the reduced visibility and the wet surface there. I think it certainly mixes things up a bit, takes you out of your comfort zone.
So when I asked on Twitter a while ago, sort of what people's favourite car was, a lot of them, I think the bulk of it probably was actually the 205, like the normal 205 that we've got in the game. Again, is this a similar sort of difference between this 205 and the Group B one that we've already got, or what's kind of changed between these two versions?
So, I mean, this is the Group B car plus, essentially. It was very close to the Group B car in terms of the gearing and the setup that the Peugeot guys took out there. They were essentially using the car that they'd recently been banned from rallying. They put a much bigger wing on it to help stabilise it at the high speeds that you can attain on these roads. And they cranked up the boost, but essentially it's very much more derived off the Group B car compared to the 405, which had the longer wheelbase, was geared very differently to try and get the most out of the climbs and the accelerations rather than the longer gearing that the Group B car had. So yeah, I mean it's probably our closest to the Group B counterpart that we've got, but on this track it is an absolute handful.
With the wet weather conditions, what kind of things are... the voice again? It's back here.
We're back.
Okay, yeah. Alright, cool. Sorry about
that. So yeah, I mean, rain generally a bit slippier, but it's not as pronounced as some people might expect it to be. Obviously, if you were running a slick tyre and it started to rain, then you'd be all over the place. But for our wet conditions, we model a wet tyre for those conditions, so the difference isn't as pronounced as people might be expecting it to. Should we do tyre choice down the line, and it's something that we know that people are asking for, then you will potentially be able to run your slick in the wet if that's something you want to do, just to really turn up the challenge. But actually, that speaks more to the event flow and that idea of the weather reports that we put in there, where you take the gamble on the dry tyre when there's a 30% chance of rain, but then if it does rain, you've been caught out and you're going to lose time over that stage, and you need to nurse the car through the stage. So that's something that we're definitely looking into.
It's giving Mr. Robson a hard time.
Cool.
Okay, right. Question, another one in from Jordan. You can't have two shirts, Jordan, but we'll answer it anyway. Will Dirt Rally ever be ported to consoles?
Too early to say. I'd like it to. I think a lot of people would like it to, but right now we're just focusing on the early access period on PC and making sure that we get things as right as they possibly can for this experience on this platform. But you know, if things work out well and people love what we've done on this, there's, you know, the more positive response we have to this, the more easy the conversations become for a console version.
I've just noticed how much Mr. Robson's struggling. So, I suppose to put it into some kind of perspective, so how many hours do you reckon you would have clocked up over the course of development actually driving the game?
Mike. Mike's
got to be in the thousands.
Yeah, Mike's the guy that sets so we call them bogey times for our AI. It's terminology that's used in rallying, and it is the quickest possible time a car is allowed to do the stage in. If you beat the bogey time, and some guys like Ewan Thorburn in the British Gravel Rally Championship, he's been known to beat the bogey time a few times because he's in an old spec WRC Focus, or at least he was last season. Then you just get the bogey time. You can't get a time under the bogey time. And so with Mike, we get him running the stages with no mechanical wear. We actually give him dev flashbacks as well, and he sets the fastest times he possibly can through each sector of the stage. and then from that we feed the AI system and we simulate the wear and tear. We put damage onto the AI drivers, so we roll the dice on when they get damaged at each split, and then the time that they get taken off them because of that damage gets simulated as well. So the key thing to note is you're not actually racing against an impossible opponent. The good drivers will make less mistakes, and they'll keep their car in good condition because they'll have a great service crew. The bad drivers will be probably making more mistakes than you guys are, or than Mike is here, and essentially you should find yourself kind of settling within the pack. But yeah, in terms of hours driven, I mean, my Steam account says, or my dev Steam account says over 500 hours. I'm sure Mike's surpassed that.
It's back into a smooth bit now. Right, okay, so a couple of questions that we've had come into the chat box. A few people already asking about Rallycross content which we've got planned for the summer. What is there that you can tell us about the Rallycross?
So we just had the World Rallycross event from Linden Hill this weekend, and we sent some of the guys down on the Friday, and they spoke to some of the teams, and we had some of our car artists go down there as well, taking reference photos of the new liveries and some of the cars that we needed some extra detail on. So we're looking to talk about that stuff probably quite soon actually, but you know, Lidden's our local track, so I think it's fair to assume that that's going to be in there. And we've got some other, you know, iconic rallycross tracks from the European calendar. And yeah, all the big supercars are going to be in there as well. So really excited. We've got some extra stuff to layer into the simulation after the chats that we had with the teams this weekend. There was a few things that kind of opened our eyes to stuff that we could do with improving. But yeah, really looking forward to going door to door with other cars. You know, I'm a rally fan at heart, and I do love that sense of driving down a stage and racing against the clock. But the adrenaline that you get from going door to door with another driver, and especially with another human driver, is just like can't be surpassed. And it's such a different angle on rally sport, and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah. So for those who I guess aren't that familiar on what Rallycross is now, they probably think of it as maybe the mode that we might have had in Dirt 2 and Dirt 3. Like, what is actual Rallycross as it is now compared to kind of what we would have been used to in the older games?
Yeah, so I mean, in the older games, it was essentially a circuit race, and you'd occasionally get a split route, but it wasn't really true Rallycross in the FIA approved sense of the word. You know, as with rally, we set about trying to represent Rallycross as authentically as we could. So, you know, we're working on the event structure at the moment, and that's the idea of heats followed by semi-finals and finals. Joker laps are something that have come into Rallycross since we last made a game with Rallycross in it, so we're representing Joker laps as well. If you jump the start, then you'll have to take 2 Joker laps, so penalties like that will be applied. And the point scoring system as well, it's a complicated point scoring system, but you know, it adds an extra element of strategy to the event, and you know, I think doing it right and doing it properly is absolutely the way to do it. So you know, Rallycross is going to be a different challenge. You'll have smaller heats with less cars, but as a result of that and the authentic tracks being used and the car handling being more accurate, we'll be in a situation where you know Rallycross will feel much more true to life. But you know, it's definitely one of the most exhilarating and exciting forms of motorsport out there. Certainly watching Rallycross this weekend, it was considerably more exciting than the Formula 1 race from Monaco, despite Mercedes' best efforts to make it more interesting. So yeah.
Cool. So for those of you, if anybody is more interested in, I suppose, Rallycross as a sport, if you go to rallycrossrx.com, there's loads of stuff up on there. They've got some really good profiles on the drivers. You can watch a load of stuff back. You can actually live stream their races, a lot of them as well. So for most territories around the world. So if you've never watched the race, I highly recommend it. Or pop over to YouTube. I'm sure there's plenty of footage up there from the weekend as well. I was just thinking to myself, that he was having quite a good run and then he came off. So the next 2 weeks now. Then, what kind of things are you going to be doing? What are we going to be doing after we've finished the live stream and sort of got back to our desks?
So I am basically going back to my desk to cry for about 15 minutes after this.
It's not been that bad.
No, it's been alright. Technology and that. But I think from now until certainly the end of this week, we're going to be refining the force feedback stuff, and then the week after we're going to be making sure that all the interfaces that we're planning to bring into the game to allow you to tweak and refine the setup are working, and they're doing the things that we're saying they do.
So that's more option screens going into...
Yeah, but
to give people more control, basically.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all very nice and fine rewriting the system underneath, but until you give people the control that they need to refine that setup on their specific wheel, then there's no point in doing it. But I think one of the key things is that when we've been investigating this in other games and listening to what the community wanted, it's clear that setting up force feedback is a bit of a dark art. If you look at the option sliders available in other games, they're all kind of talking about different things, although they mean the same thing, but the way that it's explained is very different, and it kind of muddies the water a little bit. And so what we've tried to do is create a system that actually explains to people what these different sliders are doing and gives them a clear indication of what effect it's going to have in the game. So this hasn't just been a case of lumping all of this stuff in and telling people to go and work it out for themselves. We really want to sort of guide people into how to get the best out of their wheel.
Cool. I think that's about all we've got time for today.
It's been an hour already.
It's been an hour already.
Wow.
With staggered starts. Thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you to everybody that's bought the game over the last couple of months. Even if you haven't bought the game, but you've been talking to us on the forums, Twitter, Reddit, Steam. I've been taken back by it. Really, it's been really cool.
It's been phenomenal. Just knowing that people are enjoying the product that we've made is reward enough. But long may it continue.
But yeah, hopefully all your downloads should have finished by now, so go off and buy the Pikes Peak pack.
I don't need to buy it.
Sorry, you don't need to buy it. I don't know. It's old Codemasters, we don't do that anymore. Go off and download the Pikes Peak pack. If you haven't already played the game, obviously we're up on Steam. Just load up your Steam client, type in Dirt Rally into the search bar, and we'll come up there. Early access is going to be running through until the end of the year, and just like the Pikes Peak pack with everything, people will be getting all of our updates at no extra cost.
Mm-hmm. So what you pay now is going to get you everything for the rest of early access.
Cool. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much to Mr. Robson for being the driver for the day. You didn't do that bad in the end in that one.
It's pretty bad.
You tidied it up towards the end.
Because he sets up the damage model right, so he just wanted to show everyone how good that was.
Cool. Thank you very much. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/dirtgame. We're also on Facebook @/dirtgame. We're pretty much Dirt Game everywhere on the internet. We'll see you hopefully in a month or so.
Cool.